Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about uh, introducing evaluation. This is topic number 7 for human-computer interactions. Okay. I think everybody know what is evaluation by definitions, right? So I'm trying to explain in HCI, evaluation is very crucial, and today I'm going to talk about a concept of evaluation in HCI. The aim of this lecture is to explain the key concept and term used in evaluations, especially in human-computer interactions, and then to introduce different type of evaluation methods, and to show how different evaluation methods are used for different purposes at different stages of the design process and different contexts of use. And I'm going to show how evaluator mix and modify method to meet the demand of evaluation novel system that can be used in your final project of human-computer interactions. And we're going to discuss some of the challenges that evaluators have to consider when doing evaluations. So for the first things that you have to understand is about 4W of evaluation, which is why, what, where, when. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you're looking into why we need some evaluations, is to check user requirements and that they can be used the product and they like it or they're satisfied about it. So and then what to evaluate? Maybe what you can focus on is the conceptual model, the proof concept of your conceptual model, early prototype of a new system, or maybe a more complete prototype can be useful in order to to test whether your system proposed system is good or not. And then where to evaluate, you can go with a natural setting or laboratory setting. Okay, if you ask me when to evaluate, it is at any stages throughout the design. Maybe you can during the early stage, middle stage, or maybe the end of the product design. Type of evaluation, normally we have control setting, natural setting, or maybe setting not involving user. So number one is a common practice type of evaluations. In this case, we might go for usability testing, or maybe it's a kind of experimental design that you have to decide independent variable, dependent variables. And then the second one is natural setting, is much more on uh, give the natural as much possible environment for you to go for the testing. Okay, and the third one is quite tricky actually. We going to test your system application, your proposed user interface, without you involving any user. In this case, we might go for predictive analysis, heuristic evaluations, things like that. Okay. So if you're looking into this slide, it shows that usability testing and field study can be complement. Means that you can combine all this situation into one situation of evaluations. Field study normally looking more towards natural setting, and then you can combine with usability testing as well. So this is to show that how you're going to combine all those evaluation methods. Okay, in this slide or in this lecture notes, you can download them from Google Drive. There is example that has been chosen for you uh, to help you in understanding the evaluation of human-computer interactions. Example that been given in the lecture notes is about experimental to investigate computer games. Number 2 in the wild field study of skiers, and number 3 about crowdsourcing. I'm not going to tell you everything, number 1, 2, and 3, but I'll try to make it fast presentation because you can go by your own, especially number 2 and number 3 to understand them. Okay, right. This is for the first case study. If you're looking into what is the first case study is experiment to investigate a computer games. So this case study has been designed that based on two different groups. Number one, you allow user to play against computers. Number two, you allow a group of people play against friends. From there, you create a few variables that can be highlighted here, that based on boring parameters, challenging parameters, easy parameters, engaging parameters, exciting parameters, frustrating parameters, and the last one is fun parameters. So this is the result, the example of the result. When you conduct usability testing, or maybe you conduct some sort like ask user to play with certain play with the computer and design the tasks that the user have to go through, then you get the data and then you ask them in terms of questionnaire about their degree of boring, challenging, and so on. So, in fact, if you're looking into this data, it's a result to show that the mean and standard deviations for both group, okay? You can see that boring 2.3, challenging 3.6, easy 2.7, engaging 3.8, and so on. So the standard deviation is something that to show the patterns, okay? If the numbers is small, it shows that the gap among all the users are not very big. The gap is not big. If the number of standard deviation is larger, it means that the gap among all the samples or participants are big. So that's what it means. All right. So if you're looking into this table caption, it shows that mean subjective rating given on a user satisfaction questionnaire. It means that all of this data was gathered from user satisfaction questionnaire using 5-point Likert scale, in which 1 is the lowest, 5 is the highest for the 10 players. Okay, all the data was 10 players. And identifying strongly with an experience state is indicated by the higher means. Means that the higher mean, the value is higher in terms of tendency to be boring, challenging, and so on. The standard deviation indicates the spread of the result, means that the gap among all the participants around the mean. Okay, low value indicate little variations in the participant responses. High indicates more variations. So that's what it means of the first case study, the first one, experiment into computer games. So this is the way how you put the data in your evaluations. Okay, for this case study, you go by yourself, and the third one also go by yourself. This is to show some wild study, means that they didn't have a what we call environment setting, experiment setting. They just go and give to the field study. Right. I go with this slide, which is much more straightforward as well. But you can see the differences among control setting, natural setting, and predictive evaluation or without user. You can see that in control setting is involving observing, and natural setting also involving observation. Similar to asking user, in control setting we need to ask user, maybe through questionnaire or something else like survey or maybe interview. And then natural setting also needs some element of asking user. But for without user, you don't have to ask user because it's not involve user. Okay, so you might go for expert reviews, such as expert review like heuristic evaluation and so on. Now, for the asking expert, in control setting, you might not have to ask them. But for the whole project of evaluation, you can make a combination between control setting or natural setting or without user. Okay, testing normally in control setting, and modeling they will be go for normally based on predictive analysis. Okay, but somehow modeling also have a close connection with control setting and also natural setting. Okay, these are the languages of evaluation. There are more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Around 20 language of evaluations. Start with analytics, analytic evaluation, biases, control experiments, and many more. All of these languages can be transferred into 3 types of evaluations. which is you in undergraduate level, maybe you can go for usability testing, okay, and then field study, and then you can go with what we call heuristic evaluations. This three is very important for undergraduate level to understand: field study, heuristic evaluation, and usability testing. For the others, maybe just supporting in evaluation of HCI. Okay, when you do evaluation on things to consider during interpretation of data, interpreting the data, number one is the reliability, number two is validity, number three ecological validity, number four biases, and number five scope. So these are the things that you need to consider during interpretation of data, especially the biases, all right? So make sure your data is not biased, all right? So key point of evaluation, number one, evaluation and design are very close integrated. Some of the same data gathering method are used in evaluation as establishing requirement, identify user needs through observation, interview, and questionnaire. Okay, evaluation can be done in control settings such as laboratory, less control field setting, or when users not present. So that refer to field study, natural setting, and with user testing. Okay. Usability testing and experiment enable the evaluator to have high level of control over what gets tested, whereas evaluator typically impose little or no control on participant in the field study. So that's all for now. I stop it here first. Thank you.